Hello everyone, welcome to the Daily Positivity Channel, a place where we share knowledge and empower you to grow through inspiring books. Today, we'd like to introduce you to a book by an author whom many consider to be the closest thing to a modern saint, Louise Hay. This book is for anyone struggling with anxieties, physical and emotional pain, those burdened by challenges and pressures, those grappling with self-doubt, and who haven't yet unleashed the powerful inner strength within them. The magic has always been there, within you, within your life. But first, let's delve into the extraordinary life of the woman named Louise Hay and see what you can discover for yourself to tap into that inner strength and transform your whole life. Louise Hay was born and raised in the United States. She endured hardships that most people can't even imagine. At just 18 months old, her parents divorced, and her mother later remarried. But this new life offered no hope. Instead, it plunged Louise deeper into darkness. Her stepfather was abusive, constantly beating her. Adding to her misery was the Great Depression of 1930, which plunged her into poverty. But worse was yet to come. When she was just 5 years old, a neighbor who was an alcoholic raped her. Although justice was served and the perpetrator was punished, the darkness and fear haunted her childhood. She lived with a deep, bone-chilling pain, the trauma of mental abuse, physical abuse, and the crushing hardships of poverty. Finally, unable to bear the abuse and harassment, she ran away from home at 15, dropping out of school. She worked as a waitress at a small diner, longing for love. She easily gave herself to others, and at 16, she gave birth to a child. She couldn't afford to raise her baby, so she sadly gave it up for adoption. Louise wandered from place to place, searching for work. By chance, she became a model. Perhaps because she was beautiful, she married a wealthy gentleman, the kind of man she had always desired. She thought marriage would be her salvation, so she lived cautiously during those years. But the good times didn't last. After 14 years, her marriage ended in divorce. Her husband had cheated on her. This devastating blow nearly shattered her completely. But she refused to remain trapped in the abyss of despair. She was determined to learn everything she could about psychological recovery. 3 years later, she became a psychotherapist. During this time, she also began writing books, helping countless people, and becoming a recognized expert in the field. It seemed her life was back on track. But fate had other plans. A year later, devastating news struck her like lightning. She was diagnosed with cervical cancer. Back then, there was no cure for this disease. Louise was overwhelmed with despair and anguish. Why was she constantly plagued by misfortune? But in the end, she discovered the root cause that kept her trapped in a cycle of misfortune. Then, she found the way to rise above it. Louise began diligently pursuing a range of self-healing techniques. But surprisingly, these methods didn't involve surgical removal of the tumor or finding the perfect doctor or medicine. Instead, it was about deep psychological healing and cleansing the body. After 6 months, a miracle happened. When she went back for a checkup, the doctor confirmed that all the cancer cells in her body had vanished. Louise Hay went on to become an internationally renowned healer, author, and speaker. She lived to be 91 and pioneered the concept of holistic health, founded the self-healing movement, and helped millions of people change their mental and physical state, thus improving the quality of their lives. So what did you do to make that miracle happen and completely alter your destiny? The truth is that miracles don't require magic. We can all create them within ourselves. This secret is revealed in Louise Hay's famous book, the same book we are sharing with you today. It's called You Can Heal Your Life. It's been translated into 42 languages, published in 132 countries, and topped the New York Times bestseller list for 50 weeks. If your life is still burdened by anxieties, overshadowed by illnesses, or plagued by fears, stress, suffering, and self-doubt, Louise Hay will show you why. It's because you haven't deeply explored and understood the core mission of your life, the mission you haven't fully embraced. This mission is to love yourself. This answer may seem too simple and perhaps even overused to some, but the problem for most people is that while they know the theory, they struggle to put it into practice. It's because they don't understand where the problem lies and what it truly means to love themselves. So, we hope this book will help you understand and awaken the power within yourself, so you can overcome any obstacle, break through the darkness, heal your mind, body, and spirit, and dramatically transform your life. What are some of the problems you often face? In her book, Louise Hay shares two important statements with everyone. The first is, our life experiences are created by our thoughts and words. How we perceive ourselves is how we will become. This means that whatever we believe, our subconscious will accept it. And everything you're experiencing right now is a result of your own creation. Remember the painful memory of Louise being abused by the alcoholic? She was an innocent victim, but she always heard people around her say that she was partly to blame. Why didn't the bad guy target other girls? They asked. But her? This thought began to burrow into her subconscious. It made her doubt herself, wondering if she had truly done something wrong. She also feared that when he got out of prison, the alcoholic would seek revenge because it was her testimony that had led to his conviction. When Louise was in school, all her classmates came from middle-class or wealthy families, and they were all dressed well, except Louise. She wore old clothes and her body had an unpleasant odor, so she began to develop feelings of inferiority and self-consciousness. One time, she was invited to a school party, and it was the first time she had ever tasted cake. But as her classmates eagerly took the cake, some eating 2 or even 3 pieces, Louise could only stand timidly to the side. By the time it was her turn, the cake was gone. This was Louise's pattern of thinking. She believed she wasn't worthy of good things, so she didn't dare demand her rights. She didn't dare tell the teacher that she hadn't received any cake, and she just silently endured. With this self-denying mindset, Louise grew up to be a woman who didn't know how to love herself. The boys she met were either womanizers who didn't want to take responsibility or abusive like her stepfather. If someone treated her well, even a little, she would readily fall head over heels in love, willingly have an abortion, and happily bear a child for them, without ever valuing herself. Even when she had a proper marriage with a wealthy businessman, her actions and thoughts were still deeply rooted in her feelings of inferiority and unworthiness. It wasn't until she got cancer that she finally had an awakening. She realized that her cancer was the result of a deep-seated hatred that had been simmering within her for a very long time. She hated her father for abandoning her as a child. She hated her mother for bringing her into a life of misery. She hated her stepfather for his cruelty. She hated alcoholics. She hated her irresponsible boyfriends. And she even hated her British husband, who had betrayed her. In truth, it wasn't anyone else, not the misfortunes that caused her marriage to fall apart or her illness to strike. It was her own doing. It was her resentment, her blame, her self-consciousness, her feeling of unworthiness, all of those things she had held on to for years. The reality we must accept and face is that our illnesses are created by ourselves. Just like in the book, Your Body is Saying No, by the renowned physician Dr. Potmate, who based his findings on years of research. He explains that if a person constantly suppresses their thoughts and emotions, doesn't know how to say no to others, cannot recognize and express their negative thoughts, and can't express anger, this will lead to tremendous psychological pressure. Their true thoughts will remain hidden, and this state will disrupt their physiological balance and immune system, causing various illnesses to manifest. Similarly, the economist Dr. Wright, Michael Single, who achieved enlightenment and is now a master of yoga and meditation, confirms in his book, Unveiling the Soul, that negative thoughts and emotions are like toxic streams that clog the flow of energy in the body. Over time, these blockages turn into illnesses. You see, whether it comes from science, psychology, or spiritual awakening, the message is the same. The mind and body are one. If your body is experiencing symptoms of illness, or if you are facing various health problems, it's a sign that you need to take a good look at yourself. Through her psychotherapy practice, Louise Hay saw many people facing different challenges. Some had health problems like insomnia or chronic headaches. Some struggled with relationships, feeling constantly criticized by others and burdened with pressure. Some had financial problems, struggling to make ends meet or save money. And some felt lost, not knowing what they should be doing, feeling like opportunities never came their way, and everything they did seemed to go wrong. Louise always patiently listened to them, heard about their troubles and losses, and then analyzed what thoughts they were trapped in. She realized that many problems, on the surface, weren't the real root cause. For example, many people tried to lose weight for years, but they never made any progress. Every time they encountered difficulties, they blamed their weight. They thought it was their appearance that was holding them back, causing them to miss opportunities. But was their misfortune really due to their weight? Not really. Being overweight was just an outward manifestation of a deeper internal issue. And that deeper issue is often fear. A need to be protected. When they feel unsafe, anxious, and afraid, feeling like they are not good enough, many people lose control of their eating, neglecting their health. It's actually a way they use food to protect themselves and soothe themselves. But they don't realize it. Therefore, to change the situation, we first need to have the courage to confront our issues head-on. Louise says the root problems in our bodies and our lives often stem from 4 bad habits: resentment, blame, fear, and guilt. Let's look at each of them. Resentment. When we accumulate resentment, it slowly eats away at our bodies and increases our risk of developing various cancers. Blame. Criticizing or being dissatisfied with others, if done constantly, can make a person susceptible to inflammatory diseases, especially in the joints of the fingers and wrists. The hands represent our acceptance of life experiences, while the wrists and elbows symbolize our flexibility in changing our direction in life. If these joints are inflexible, it means negative emotions have been bottled up for too long. We are stubborn, lacking flexibility and compassion in changing our thinking and how we perceive others. Fear. When we are afraid of anything, it can easily lead to hair loss and stomach ulcers. Hair loss is closely linked to mental stress. When we are stressed, a surge of energy travels from our shoulders up to the top of our heads, making our scalp tense and the pores constrict, preventing it from breathing, leading to hair loss. If the scalp cannot relax, hair follicles will remain constantly closed, and new hair cannot grow, leading to baldness. Stress often reflects inner weakness and a lack of safety. Stomach ulcers are caused by prolonged anxiety and fear, often stemming from thoughts like, "I'm not wealthy enough, not smart enough, not powerful enough, not famous enough, not secure enough," etc. Or it's because we're anxious about being seen as weak or imperfect by others. These deep fears directly affect the digestive system, causing it to become disrupted and leading to ulcers. Guilt. This includes feelings of dissatisfaction with oneself, leading to repression. For example, many people experience persistent coughing without a clear cause. They consider coughing to be a disease and seek medical advice, trying to find remedies everywhere. But Louise says that coughing is how we explore ourselves. It originates in the throat, which represents our ability to speak up and affirm ourselves. It means we are feeling restricted, believing we don't have the right to do something, can't fulfill our deepest desires, or lack the qualifications to protect ourselves. This suppression leads to throat inflammation, a hoarse voice, and inability to speak our minds. Additionally, the throat represents creativity and freedom of expression. When that is restricted, your throat will also feel uncomfortable. Many people around us never discover what true freedom is. They spend most of their lives trying to please their parents, lovers, partners, or bosses. They follow the wishes of others, missing the opportunity to try things they truly want to do. Being in this state of sadness and self-pity, with their personal will restricted, they are very susceptible to tonsillitis. Guilt is also a consequence of not knowing how to bring true joy to yourself, not being able to send yourself love, but instead becoming engrossed in false pleasures and self-deception. The heart, which represents love, shrinks and becomes cold. And the blood, which represents joy, also slows down, leading to anemia, chest pain, and an increased risk of heart disease. In summary, the urgent need now is to explore your inner world and confront the negative emotions hidden deep within you. When Louise was in school, All her classmates came from middle-class or wealthy families, and they were all dressed well, except Louise. She wore old clothes and her body had an unpleasant odor. So she began to develop feelings of inferiority and self-consciousness. One time, she was invited to a school party, and it was the first time she had ever tasted cake. But as her classmates eagerly took the cake, some eating 2 or even 3 pieces, Louise could only stand timidly to the side. By the time it was her turn, the cake was gone. This was Louise's pattern of thinking. She believed she wasn't worthy of good things, so she didn't dare demand her rights. She didn't dare tell the teacher that she hadn't received any cake, and she just silently endured. With this self-denying mindset, Louise grew up to be a woman who didn't know how to love herself. The boys she met were either womanizers who didn't want to take responsibility or abusive like her stepfather. If someone treated her well, even a little, she would readily fall head over heels in love, willingly have an abortion, and happily bear a child for them, without ever valuing herself. Even when she had a proper marriage with a wealthy businessman, her actions and thoughts were still deeply rooted in her feelings of inferiority and unworthiness. It wasn't until she got cancer that she finally had an awakening. She realized that her cancer was the result of a deep-seated hatred that had been simmering within her for a very long time. She hated her father for abandoning her as a child. She hated her mother for bringing her into a life of misery. She hated her stepfather for his cruelty. She hated alcoholics. She hated her irresponsible boyfriends. And she even hated her British husband, who had betrayed her. In truth, it wasn't anyone else, not the misfortunes that caused her marriage to fall apart or her illness to strike. It was her own doing. It was her resentment, her blame, her self-consciousness, her feeling of unworthiness, all of those things she had held on to for years. The reality we must accept and face is that our illnesses are created by ourselves. Just like in the book, Your Body is Saying No, by the renowned physician Dr. Potmate, who based his findings on years of research. He explains that if a person constantly suppresses their thoughts and emotions, doesn't know how to say no to others, cannot recognize and express their negative thoughts, and can't express anger, this will lead to tremendous psychological pressure. Their true thoughts will remain hidden, and this state will disrupt their physiological balance and immune system, causing various illnesses to manifest. Similarly, the economist Dr. Wright, Michael Single, who achieved enlightenment and is now a master of yoga and meditation, confirms in his book, Unveiling the Soul, that negative thoughts and emotions are like toxic streams that clog the flow of energy in the body. Over time, these blockages turn into illnesses. Are you carrying hidden traumas from childhood, conflicts in your family, relatives, or close friends? Do you set high expectations on others, feeling dissatisfied with them, blaming them, and judging them? Do you have secret envy and feel like you're not good enough? Are you anxious about being short of money, afraid of not finding your dream job, afraid of your parents and others not recognizing you? And finally, is the fear of loss and the fear of death deeply ingrained in your subconscious? Louise Hay shares an important message. No matter what you are going through, the only way to heal and transform your entire life is to start with one thing: loving yourself. This is the core mission that each of us must fulfill when we come into this life. But how do you love yourself in the right way and create positive changes? What does it truly mean to love yourself? Many people mistakenly believe that loving yourself means making yourself happy all the time, so they adopt a dualistic mindset, liking good things and hating bad things. They only like what is positive for them and fear anything that might negatively affect them. However, loving yourself also includes accepting and dealing with negative emotions in a healthy way. Some people also mistakenly believe that loving yourself is about indulging yourself, always striving to satisfy all your needs and desires, even if those are unhealthy habits, or they think they have to achieve perfection and great achievements to be worthy of self-love. These are all misconceptions about loving yourself. Louise Hay says that a person who knows how to love themselves, first, they are able to observe resistance to change and let it go. What are you resisting? There are things you should do to change, but you keep putting them off and can't seem to complete them. For example, maintaining positive habits, going to bed early, waking up early, exercising regularly, eating healthily, learning new skills, reading every day, controlling emotions, etc. Simply put, resistance is a sign of a lifestyle that is lazy, procrastinating, insecure, dependent on others, and with a weak will. But why do you develop resistance? Because deep down, you have psychological needs that you crave fulfillment. You crave love, desire success, want power and influence, yearn for safety, and want to be recognized by others. However, the secret of the laws of the universe is that the more we want to possess something, the less likely we are to experience true happiness, abundance, or love. Because when a person craves something, they easily fall into anxiety, fear of loss, self-doubt, dissatisfaction with themselves, and excessive expectations of others. These will lead to a range of different problems in life, like being overweight, ill, impoverished, addicted to alcohol, cigarettes, gaming, sleeping in, browsing the internet, or having terrible relationships, unsatisfactory love lives, and boring jobs, etc. The more you remain in this state, the more you will resist change. So it's no wonder that many people know what their problems are, but can't change them. It's a paradox. Only when you observe resistance in yourself can you gently and easily create a richer, more abundant, and loving experience for yourself. Louise advises us to observe resistance in ourselves through 3 aspects. 1. Resistance is manifested in our daily actions. For example, when faced with a difficult task, we tend to procrastinate and do easy things first. 2. Resistance can be expressed through our words. For example, we often deny things by saying, "I don't have time, this environment doesn't suit me, it's their fault, I know, but it's really difficult, I can't do it," etc. 3. Finally, resistance is in our thoughts. For example, thinking, "Why am I getting old, so ugly, so fat, so thin, so short, so incompetent," etc. Explore your insecure thoughts. Sometimes, constantly praising yourself, criticizing others, and feeling superior can also be a sign of a self-conscious ego. These are the first crucial steps to returning to a state of loving yourself. Next, a person who loves themselves lives in the present moment. Thich Nhat Hanh, a Zen master and teacher of mindfulness meditation, spent his entire life emphasizing this truth. The past is gone, and the future hasn't arrived yet. The only thing we have is the present. It's true, however, most people get stuck in the past. If we're bound by what happened, even if we can recognize our resistant actions and negative thoughts, it's hard to maintain positive change. So the next step to truly recreate your destiny is to free yourself from the past. Don't let the past hinder your path to living fully in the present. It will only cause you unending pain. Louise Hay realizes that the best way to free yourself from the past is forgiveness. Forgiving others is also forgiving yourself. Letting go of resentment and blame through forgiveness is an absolutely crucial step in the journey of healing and recreating your life. But why? Louise says that all our relationships with others are mirrors reflecting ourselves. Psychology reveals that projection is an unconscious defense mechanism. The vibrations, desires, and thoughts in our subconscious are transferred into the outside world, and we're unaware of it beforehand. When we recognize and adjust what our subconscious is projecting, the things we receive back are reflections of our truest selves, the things we have projected outward. For example, when a relationship ends, if you feel your partner was unreasonable, then you are projecting anger. If you think your partner wasn't understanding, you are projecting a lack of empathy. In the end, who your partner really is just your guesswork. But in that projection, you are fully projecting your own image. Anger or forgiveness, blame or compassion. Your judgments about others are your own essence. If that person is constantly criticizing, scolding, and being difficult with you, then you can look deep inside your soul and see if you also have a tendency to criticize others and have trouble being satisfied. Understanding this, you can escape the victim mentality and gain a more neutral perspective. It's like the third eye, the vision of God, seeing things from a higher, more just perspective. In this way, you can avoid falling into your own personal view, no longer carrying those wounds and limitations, making it easier to let go and forgive others. Forgiving others is also being compassionate with yourself. Others are always mirrors reflecting you. You might think that how you treat others is how they will treat you, but the truth is, how you treat yourself is how others will treat you. If you are insecure and sensitive, you will be oppressed and bullied. If you ignore your own needs, you will be abandoned. If you worry that people will no longer love you, the result will be that they will no longer love you. Conversely, if you love yourself deeply, you will attract a loving partner. The way you treat your thoughts and actions creates the energy, beliefs, and projections that make up your destiny. This is what the psychologist Carl Jung said. The unconscious is controlling your life, but you think it's fate. Finally, you will realize that Louise Hay's logic is to point out the core point for a complete change of destiny. It's about changing the patterns of thinking that are deeply ingrained in your subconscious. But how do you achieve that? It can only be done by affirming yourself. Acknowledge to yourself, I am sovereign. I am free. I am in control of my thoughts and emotions. I am amazing. I am worthy of all the best things in life. I am love. In the vastness of my life, everything is perfectly aligned, complete, and whole. I believe there is a power greater than myself that flows through me every day, every hour, every minute. I open my heart to receive wisdom. I know that in this vast universe there is only one wisdom, and in this wisdom there are all the answers, all the solutions, all the healing methods, and all new creations. I trust in this power and wisdom. Everything I need to know has been revealed. Everything I need has arrived at the right time, place, and in the most perfect order. Everything is perfect in my world. True joy comes to me. I love myself more and more. I am love. Unconditional love. This is one way to affirm yourself. Every day, affirm these powerful and energetic statements to yourself. When your subconscious believes that good things are happening to you, then the outside world will begin to physically manifest these thoughts within you. If you want a happy life, you must have happy thoughts. If you want a prosperous life, you must have prosperous thoughts. If you want a life filled with love, you must have thoughts filled with love. A truly prosperous life begins with the feeling of I am amazing, and at the same time, it's a freedom that allows you to decide what you want to do and when to do it. Prosperity is not about how much money you have, but a state of mind. Being rich or poor is just an outward manifestation of your inner thoughts. The reality is that to change anything on the outside, we must change from within. We must change our thinking, our way of speaking, and our way of expressing ourselves. Only then will external change occur. Be confident that self-affirmation and acceptance in the present are the keys to positive change. When we truly love ourselves, life becomes smoother. Louise also advises us to not just think silently, but to speak our affirmations out loud. Declare them aloud to yourself. You already are not what you want to be. I am love, not I want to be loved. I am completeness, abundance, and prosperity, not I want to be rich. I want to make a lot of money. I am healthy, not I want to be cured. When you say you want, you need, it means you are sowing a negative belief in your subconscious, affirming that you are unfortunate, lacking, and sick. Because only when you lack and don't have something do you need to desire, to crave its acquisition. These negative beliefs will trap you in a loop. Resisting change, continuing to be angry, blaming, resenting, and blaming. The outside world will mirror these experiences back to you. And when Louise was diagnosed with cancer, she completely woke up from the dream of being manipulated by her subconscious. By changing her patterns of thinking and psychology, she could be said to have passed through the gates of death. It was through her powerful affirmations that she continued to follow the healing energy flow within herself, observing herself honestly, looking at the signals in her body to reflect on her soul, letting go of all resistance to change, stopping procrastination, stopping complaining, stopping self-denial. She eliminated all hatred, freeing herself from the past, reconnecting with loved ones, and no longer blaming anyone. She not only forgave, but she actually learned to be grateful to everyone. Through this process of healing her body and soul, she created a miracle. No more illness plagued her. She became a healer and helped millions of people. Her life became smooth, joyful, prosperous, and happy. And the miracle was nothing more than knowing how to truly love herself. We've reached the end of today's sharing. Here I ask you to ask yourself one question. How much do you love yourself? If you want to love yourself, the most important thing is to stop denying yourself. Stop blaming and criticizing others. The truth is that the problems you encounter in life are created by your subconscious mind from long ago. If you don't consciously train and change it, it will follow you for your whole life. Be determined to let go of all resistance so that you can truly change. Forgive everyone. Only when you understand this can you truly be free. As long as you continue to blame others, it means you don't want to take responsibility for yourself. Let the past really pass. Don't think this pain is so great, it no longer matters. You can start changing right this moment. Today, you can live completely in the present. The power to control your life is always in your hands. It's just that you've forgotten your inner strength that can change everything. Now remember, return to your true self, a person who knows how to love themselves. Look in the mirror often and say, I love you. I truly love you. I hope that all of us, from now on, are ready for these experiences to fulfill the mission of this life, which is to love ourselves. You will be able to recreate your entire destiny. Sending all of you the greatest love. Thank you for watching to the very end. Now show your love by pressing the subscribe button below. Share this video with your friends and leave your comments and opinions. Together, we will create a truly vibrant community.